Most clinicians are looking after patients with COPD, but that doesn't mean it's easy to treat. It's incredibly diverse. Every patient is different, and that means every clinician in everyday clinical practice is coming across controversies where there just isn't evidence. And we wanted to provide the membership of the ERS, and indeed more widely, with an up-to-date resource based on science and evidence that they could really take back to their clinical practice to improve the care of the COPD patients that they're seeing in their everyday life.
Therefore, we started every chapter with a short introduction of a patient history, just to show the controversial problems in the field.
So I think there are a number of reasons why it's a good time for a monograph in COPD. One is that there's really renewed interest in this condition. The community has recognised that we need to be improving outcomes in COPD, and that means a deeper understanding of the disease. But more than that, actually, our ability to understand what's going on in COPD has been transformed by new scientific techniques. You could think of the microbiome, for an example, which has transformed the way that we think about bacteria just over the last 5 years in COPD. So it's a really exciting time to be involved in COPD care, and it means it's a very important time to summarise where we are, and that's what we wanted to achieve with the monograph.
I think it's also very important to get much more attention for COPD. Cardiovascular diseases are much more in the picture than COPD, while there is more mortality in COPD patients together, or pulmonary patients together, than in cardiovascular disease. So we should stand up and get attention for this very important disease.
It's about personalised care, you know. It's time to stop thinking about COPD patients as all the same. And individualising care means a deeper understanding of what type or subtypes, plural, of disease they have. So yeah, alpha-1, frequent exacerbator, whatever, however you want to phenotype or endotype these patients, is about getting the right interventions in the right patient at the right time. So it's personalised and stratified medicine. When we were pulling the monograph together, we had to be really strict in the chapters. There wasn't enough room to put all the controversies that we wanted to in, and we had to select the ones that we thought were most topical and most interesting. But what we tried to do really is to go right through the spectrum of care. So the monograph starts with Joanne Soriano and Davy Price looking at the value of screening or case finding, so trying to identify patients with COPD who haven't been identified yet and what that means and what kind of interventions. And then right through at the other end of the spectrum, we end with Laura Jane and Jenny Quint on a chapter about palliative care in COPD. So, you know, excellence in COPD care for us starts at diagnosis, at early diagnosis, and is through the care pathway right through until end-of-life care. And we've tried to address that through the chapters in the book.
And the other important thing is that we are always talking about FEV1, obstruction of the airways, but I think the use of multidimensional indices as introduced by Bart Sally some years ago in the New England Journal, the Bode index, is also very important. And we see that we are much better, it's much easier to predict mortality when we are using more parameters than FEV1 alone. And it's also more important for the patient to come to patient-related outcome measurements instead of FEV1. The patient itself will move longer or move better and isn't interested in his FEV1 value. Well, I think we need to achieve that the mortality is going down a lot and that we are getting much more attention for COPD at the end.
It's about tobacco control and everybody trying to prevent future generations from experiencing what is a really very difficult disease. For those people with COPD that's already established, it's about improving outcomes, and for me, improving outcomes comes from a deeper understanding of the science underlying the disease. And to finish, that's really what we tried to do in the monograph. It was to bring the current scientific evidence right in the clinic so the clinical audience can use that evidence to improve the care of their patients.